I want to make this video to discuss more about how to use sample edit, because some of the functions, if you don't know it, is going to kind of slow down your whole sampling process. So in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you 10 things you should know on MPC sample edit mode. You definitely want to stay tuned into the end, because even in the beginning, I'm going to be giving you guys the heavy hitters and the last 4 tips you don't want to miss out. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. The first thing you should know is how to time stretch properly. I know a lot of beginners are having issues of having their sample sound good at a different tempo from its original, and it's either because they're using warp or they're not counting their bars correctly. So let's just go over this right now. So I have this loop pulled up. If you're a beginner, you don't only just want to follow this, you want to be able to count it out yourself. And the way you would do that, this is like a bonus tip, is go to the second menu and then you want to do detect BPM. So I'm gonna play the sample and then I'm gonna also tap it. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's better that you tap it out and get close as possible, and then you will know, okay, it's around 125 to 130. But if you already have the tempo, then just type it in. What I like to do when it comes to time stretching is go to process and go to time stretch itself. You see how it says 32 BPM. Now, obviously, it can't be that low. So you always want to keep going in 8 increments. So the next 8 increment will be 16, because it's counting the beats within your loop. So you know it's going to be more than 8 beats. 8 beats is only 2 bars, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now it could be 16, but for me, I like to make these kind of beats. If you're doing trap, it's good to just stay in a double tempo. So then you just double 16 and you go to 32. Now you see that it says 128, which matches the actual sample right here. So now we know we're in the right place, and then we could just switch that to, let's just even just make it exactly 128 and switch this to 170 and then press do it. Now, if you have a whole long sample, just understand that if it's taking long on the screen, it doesn't mean it's slowed down or anything. It's just that if you have a long sample, it's going to take longer. So now we have that. I can assign it and put it on the second pad. The second thing you should know is tuning your samples. I have another sample right here. Let's just hear it. I like the tune feature right here. This is not just a pitch shifter. This is also a tempo shifter as well. There is a way to process and change the pitch and maintain the tempo. But right now, what I'm showing you is that tune can still be convenient and efficient in your workflow, because I like how it sounds at this speed, but then, you know, I want a different flavor. Maybe it's going too fast for me and I just want to slow it down a bit. So that sounds cool. And I do this like to almost all my samples. I definitely want to just hear how it sounds sped up with a different pitch or slow down with a different pitch. And if you watch my sample video of how I sample like the Netflix original, I did this for the Narcos one.
You know, I didn't want it to be that obvious. A good way to stand out is just change the tuning. And I tuned it down a lot. I tuned it down to like -8. Now it sounds something like this.
And just real quick, if we was to assign it to a pad, so I will assign it to pad 5, press do it. You may be thinking in your head, okay, I like the new tuning and I like the new speed, but how am I gonna figure out the tempo to that? Once again, just tap it out. First hit it and then just tap it out. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you don't have to get the exact number. All I know is that it's between 125 and 130. So I could just start at 125, and then now I have a smaller space to just figure out what the tempo is, and that could be very instantly. I'm just gonna record it and play start. And off the back, I already got it. Let's say you was at 123. you see, you would hear that little space left, and then you just move a bit closer and closer and you will find it. But it won't be that hard because you already minimized it down to 120 to 130 BPM, and then you just find where that right spot fits. Now let's say you have a sample and you like the tempo, but you just want to change the pitch. So that sounds good, and you probably thinking in your head like, okay, I love this tempo, but I just want it in a different key. So instead of going to tune or changing it from the global settings, like, no, scratch all of that. You just go to process and you go to pitch shift. Now, there is no preview to hear it out, but that's why you just go back to tune and just hear the pitch with the tune. Obviously, you're just gonna have to distinguish in your mind the tempo from the pitch. If you like how that key is sounding at like 4, you can just put that back to 0, go to process, and then this is good that this happened. You see how I just hit it and then it got into the smaller increments? Now this will mess you up. So you wanna hold shift so that you could get the smaller increments and just put it back to an actual number. So 3, but we're just gonna do 4. And then press do it. And like I said, it's going to take a while based on how long your sample is. So now let's hear how this sounds. That sounds so good. If it's anything that has to do with time stretching or changing the quality of something, do it through the sample edit mode and go to process and do it from there. Now, the fourth thing you should know is just more of a workflow thing, switching between extract and discard. So with extract, I like to use this when, you know, I found a spot that I like, let's say somewhere around here. And then let's say I like that part. But later on, since this is a whole sample, I might want different parts. Instead of going to discard, I could just go to extract, you know, type this in as my first chop, and then do it, boom. Now I have a whole dedicated program to this. I could chop it up, I could tune it, I could do a lot of things to it. And I like to have it this way because then I keep the original one intact. While the original one is intact, I could move this around and then find another chop and then, you know, find another chop and do it this way. But let's say you found the chop and you know you don't want anything else. Then as far as saving space and, you know, stuff like that, then discard will be a better option because you don't have to make another separate program and it would just be this. Now, the fifth thing you should know is just very quickly, I know a lot of people have been asking about like, can you fade in and fade out? Of course you can. And in sample edit mode, I like to do it the most. You could do it in grid view and automate it, but if you're messing with like a sample and not MIDI, then this is your way to go. Let's say I just wanted to fade in the intro. So I could just go from here, from right there, and just go process and then scroll over until you see fade in. And then I could just drag that out and we could play it. Beautiful. And then you could undo it if you didn't like that, and then you could just reset a point. And then I could do the same for the outro. Just go one more to the right, and then press do it, and then play it. Now, number 6, 16 pad loops the sample. So I didn't know this as a beginner. Like, obviously, if you've been on MPC, you know this. But for a lot of beginners, this is going to be very useful for you. So what we can do is just come in a bit right there and hit pad 16. I like doing this because I could move the starting points and it would still continue to loop. Now, obviously, you can hear a little click. So a bonus tip is just to hold down shift and put it on 0 snap. What it's gonna do is just gonna go to a point that has silence, which makes it not clip. And also, there's another quick bonus tip. Instead of just zooming in with my hands or the Q links and stuff, what I found faster, and I promise you, if you implement this, you're gonna be even faster moving through sample edit. Use the zoom. Because if you're on start, let's say we all the way over here, if you hit zoom, boom, brings you right there. And then I could keep hitting zoom, and then now you can see why it's clipping, because I didn't get the whole thing. And this is why I like zoom, because I could easily get to each part fast. If I wanted to fix the end real quick, boom, I could just do that with the zoom. And then I could zoom out. It's just a lot faster, bro, in my opinion. Now, number 7 is a cool creative thing to do to get that kind of lo-fi vinyl sound. What you would do is go to process and go all the way to bit reduce. So you don't want to reduce it too much. If you reduce it too much, this is what it's going to be like. It's just going to add too much noise. Like, you want it to be very subtle, and you can also undo that as well. So go to process. Since it was already at 12, I'll probably just go down to like 9. And let's just hear how that sounds. Get that nice airy sound. As we can see, there's loud parts, there's medium parts, and then there's very quiet parts. A quick way to bring up the volume is just to go to process and then go to normalize. Now you see that it's a lot louder. Okay, that's cool, but what's also cooler is that there's gain staging as well. So you could change the gain. Let's just actually go back a bit. Now, let's say we don't want it to be that silent right here. We want it to kind of match this part. Even though normalize did do that, let's say we didn't want it to be the exact loudness of it, but just a bit closer to that. We could go to process and we could do the gain change to about maybe 4 decibels up, and let's just do it. That's better than normalize, because normalize is just gonna just like damn near peak it. But this way, if you have a sample where it's a loud part and a small part, but you want both parts, you could kind of just use the gain change to kind of blend it. It don't have to be the same, but to blend it. Now, these last 2 is very essential. This one, for number 9, when you have a lot of old samples, some of these songs used to be like pan hard left guitar or pan hard right piano or stuff like that, where there's sounds on different sides. Now, as you could look at this sample right here, you could clearly tell that the left and the right signal has different things going on. And you could just tell by the waveform. You can see that this part is not right there and this part is not right there. Now, let's say you just only want to play with the left side of the sound. And you could easily do that by going to process and then going all the way to stereo and mono. And then you could choose the left side and then just press do it. Make sure you name it though. You could do left, chop. And then press do it. And then let's also just go ahead and do the right chop. Now when I go over, so now I have the left and the right chop, and you can clearly see the difference. We can play it. Versus how the right part starts off. And then the last and final tip is how to find the key of your sample. I think I just had to throw this one in there for beginners out there. I know you probably be loading up like a 808. You can see that it's in the key of F. Let's just load it. Shift and mute to get a sample edit. You got this 808 loaded, and let's say you didn't have like the key for it. All you have to do is just go to the second menu and then hit the tech key and it will find it for you. Now, how do I know this is right? Because if I go to any other key, like A, and then press the tech key, it's gonna go to F. You don't have to worry about if it's major or minor, because it's only a one shot. Now, this is not gonna work on like long samples or anything like this. This might only really work well with one shots and loops, because loops have less notes. So it makes it a lot easier for the algorithm to figure it out. Now, just to add this in, because we're on this screen, now that we have it in the right key, or we found the right key, and we wanna use this with pad perform along with our other melodies, it's not gonna work. Let's say if the melody is in A minor and you're just trying to play it like this and you didn't make the changes that had to be made, enable for your 808 to sync up to pad perform, it's not gonna sound correctly. It's because your root note needs to be changed to the actual key of your sample, which is F. So if this never said F and you detect your key and you found your key, then you wanna change that to here, so that when you go into pad perform, that your 808s will play in key with your actual beat. Now I have an 808 video that goes into depth of how to use 808s and load them and just a lot of creative techniques in that one video. You can watch that video here. And if you like this video, like and subscribe, share with your other producer friends as we continue the sample series. Peace.